They thought humanity was nothing but dust, fragile bones on a fragile world. But when the stars turned against us, when empires of steel and shadow came to break our will, humanity did what we always do. We endured. And in the end, we taught them something even empires fear. The first transmission arrived like a whisper carried across the void, a language unknown, yet filled with intent. An empire older than Earth's civilizations combined, calling themselves the Veyra, declared their presence. They did not come with greetings. They came with certainty that humanity, soft and untested, was too fragile to be allowed among the stars. Their words were simple: kneel or vanish. The Earth governments faltered. For decades, humans had reached outward, building colonies on Mars, on Europa, sending ships into interstellar drift. Yet we were still young, still untested by true cosmic war. Against the Veyra, whose fleets spanned light years and whose soldiers were grown from iron wombs of war, we were ants beneath a storm. They thought fear would break us before the battle even began. And for a moment, perhaps, they were right. Panic rippled across the colonies. Some called for surrender. Others argued humanity's survival lay in assimilation. But there were voices, quiet at first, that refused to yield. Voices that said, fragile is not the same as weak. One of those voices belonged to Admiral Kaelen Veyra. Born on the orbital slums of Mars, Kaelen had lived her life surrounded by reminders of humanity's limits, thin walls against vacuum, fragile domes against storms. But she had also seen something else: the resilience in those who survived, the stubbornness in those who refused to die. When the Veyra Armada emerged near Jupiter, Kaelen took command of the fleet that answered. It was not a fleet to inspire confidence. Earth's ships were patchwork, relics of different nations, built with more hope than certainty. Their weapons were crude by comparison, their shields little more than wishful mathematics. Against the Veyra, who relied on overwhelming power, Kaelen gambled on unpredictability. Humans did not fight like machines. We do not fight with certainty. We fight with desperation, with cunning born from knowing we are mortal. Her fleet fractured, split into shards across the asteroid belt, hiding among the rocks, darting in and out with hit-and-run strikes. They used the very weakness of their ships, their small size, their lack of rigidity, to vanish and strike again. The Veyra did not understand. Their doctrine was built on domination, on crushing resistance, but they were not prepared for prey that fought back like predators. Days turned into weeks. Battles became stories whispered across Earth's networks. The people began to believe, not in invincibility, but in defiance. Humanity would not kneel. Humanity would endure. And then came the Battle of Europa. The Veyra unleashed their judgment, a planetary spear, a weapon designed to crack open worlds. They aimed it at Europa's colony. 500,000 human lives, families, workers, scientists. Kaelen had barely a fraction of their firepower. Every strategist on Earth predicted catastrophe. But Kaelen did not plan to win with power. She planned to win with fear. She ordered her fleet into the shadow of Jupiter itself, using the giant's radiation storms to mask their signals. Then, with surgical precision, she struck. Not at the Veyra fleet, but at the spear's guidance arrays. Her ships weaved between blasts of energy that could have erased them, sacrificing hulls and lives with ruthless calculation. At the height of the chaos, she transmitted one message, broadcast not in code or strategy, but in raw defiance. You call us fragile. Then hear this: fragile things cut deepest when they break. And with that, she rammed her flagship directly into the weapon's core. The explosion tore across the void. The spear collapsed inward, shattering in a storm of fire. For the first time, the Veyra faltered, not because they had been defeated by power, but because they had been made to feel fear. They had never imagined prey willing to die to kill, never imagined fragility wielded as a weapon. The battle did not end the war. The Vedrith still had fleets. They still had power. But the balance had shifted. Now, they knew humanity would not bow. They knew every colony, every ship, every so-called fragile human would fight until the stars themselves grew cold. And the galaxy watched. Other civilizations, once silent, saw humanity not as fragile, but as a force that even empires must respect. Kaelen's name became legend. Her sacrifice became a spark. And from that spark, humanity grew bolder, fiercer, stronger. Because in the end, fragility is not weakness. Fragility is knowing the cost of life, and those who know the cost will fight hardest to protect it. What do you think? Does strength come from power or from the will to rise when all odds are against us? If this story gripped you, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more journeys into the heart of humanity's fight among the stars, because our story is only beginning.